It's time to go to Japan. Japan is unquestionably one of the world's most interesting and desired countries to travel to. But with so much to see, from the snowy tips of Hokkaido, the incredible technology of Tokyo, the traditional streets of Kyoto, and the neon deliciousness of Osaka, all the way down to the relaxed seasides of Shikoku and Kyushu, such a range of destinations would typically cost thousands of dollars in transportation alone, and this is where the Japan Rail Pass is your samurai in shining armor. But what exactly is the Japan Rail Pass? The JR Pass is a special train ticket available to foreign travelers exclusively. Japan nationals and even residents such as myself cannot take advantage of the savings and flexibility it will afford you. Virtually all of Japan, excluding Okinawa, can be accessed by an incredible network of trains, with the JR company connecting the majority via high-speed bullet trains, local and city loops, and even a few monorails, buses, and ferries. There are many different rail passes that are useful in Japan, with the nationwide being the most useful, and regional ones for more specific travel that I will talk about later in this video, so be sure to stick around till the end. The main JR Pass can be bought and used nationwide for either 7, 14, or 21 consecutive days at a cost of approximately 29,000, 47,000, or 60,000 yen respectively, with the current US dollar conversions at the time of recording on the screen now. And while these may sound expensive at first, depending on your trip, they are often the best choice that will potentially save you hundreds of dollars alone. This makes whether to buy the JR Pass the single most important decision when planning a trip to Japan. But don't just take my word for it. There are many online calculators that can be used to calculate your own costs to see if it's worth it. Using my How to Spend 2 Weeks in Japan video as an example, I put my own itinerary to the test and found that a 2-week cross-country trip without using the JR Pass would have cost me upwards of 92,000 yen, or around $700 US. The same trip using the 2-week JR Pass, which I always recommend as the best value, would cost 47,250 yen, or $357, practically halving my entire travel expenditure. In reality, there would be even more savings, as the calculator that I use does not include trains that I would use to visit destinations inside of the cities, which would rack up an additional 1,000 or more yen per day. Even if you calculate your trip costs and find that it's more or less the same as not using the pass, I would still recommend it, because the added flexibility it provides to just jump on a train and go see something you might not have known about, such as Matsushima, one of the 3 great views of Japan, which would otherwise cost you 22,000 yen or $166 US to visit as a side day trip from Tokyo. In addition to this, the JR Pass allows you to use the reserved Shinkansen Bullet Train seats at no additional cost. Now, one key factor of the JR Pass is that typically it has to be bought before you come to Japan. Buying a JR Pass in your country from an official JR reseller is often the cheapest option, and there are several companies to choose from. I trust and recommend JRPass.com, which I have linked in the description and in the comment section, as they offer fast and secure worldwide delivery with nationwide and regional passes available. They can even arrange to meet you on arrival to help you activate your JR Pass for an additional fee. You can also order pocket Wi-Fi from their site while reserving your JR Pass, so you won't have to worry about getting lost on your trip. Using my link also helps support my channel to put out more guides and information about Japan. But if you'd like to support my channel for free, feel free to kindly subscribe and let me know in the comments what destinations in Japan you want to see more of. It is worth noting that if you forget to order a pass, it is temporarily possible to purchase a JR Pass inside of Japan from major train stations or airports at a slightly higher cost until March 31st, 2023, after which it's going to return to only being purchased before your trip outside of Japan. If this changes in the future, then I'll update in the description. The nationwide JR Pass can be used on all JR local trains, the Tokyo monorail to Haneda Airport, and even the Miyajima ferry in Hiroshima. The majority of bullet trains are included, with the fastest Nozomi and Mizuho excluded. But this isn't really an issue for travel, as the Hikari is still available. What this actually means is that using the JR Pass from Tokyo to Kyoto will take 160 minutes on the Hikari, rather than 140 minutes using the Nozomi, with only a difference of 20 minutes and potential savings of hundreds of dollars. You can even use the JR Pass on certain special trains like the Seto Sunrise Sleeper train, provided you book well in advance, as this train is particularly popular, and the JR Pass will only cover the fare, not the lodgings, which would be an additional cost. It still amounts to about a 10,000 or 20,000 yen discount off the total price, but I believe the cheap Nobi seats are actually free in this case, and speaking from experience, I can tell you that the Seto Sunrise is truly an amazing train. The nationwide pass is the king of travel in Japan, but if your Japan journey is localized in a certain area, you might be better served by a JR regional pass. There are dozens of different regional passes, and while more localized, they can also be more restrictive, limiting certain trains and sometimes allowing you to travel on all rail networks in the region, including the private non-JR lines. Going through each would take hours, but here are a few that I found that stood out. The Hokkaido Rail Pass can be bought for 5 or 7 days for 19,000 or 25,000 yen respectively, and provides unlimited use of all JR trains, except for the Hokkaido Shinkansen that links the mainland with Hokkaido, and most of the JR Hokkaido bus lines. This also allows you to use the reserved seats for free. This would be a great pass for someone exploring Japan's most northern island for a ski trip, or exploring the beautiful national parks of Hokkaido. The Tokyo Wide Pass, previously known as the Kanto Pass, really punches above its weight for 10,000 yen. It provides 3 days of unlimited travel, not only in Tokyo, but parts of Nagano, Niigata, Yamanashi, and Shizuoka, including the Shinkansens and 8 non-JR operated railways. This pass would be great for someone who's taking a short trip to Tokyo that wanted to get out of the city for a day or two, perhaps taking a side trip to Kusatsu Onsen or around Mount Fuji and the Fuji 5 Lakes. The East Tohoku Pass can be bought for 20,000 yen and provides 5 days of unlimited travel from the Izu Peninsula all the way up to Aomori, the last stop before Hokkaido. Perfect for a week-long trip exploring eastern and northern Japan, allowing you to switch between local JR bullet trains, JR buses, and several of the non-JR operated lines that JR trains run on, such as the Iwate Ginga Railway between Morioka and Aomori. This one sounds particularly handy, as when I was traveling myself in the region, I was confused about this policy and I found myself forced to pay an additional fee. I would not recommend the JR West 7-day pass, however, because it's only slightly cheaper than the JR 1-week pass and nowhere near as versatile. The All Shikoku Pass, however, is much more useful. It can be used for between 3 and 7 days, and it's half the price of the JR 1-week pass. The real advantage to this pass over the JR National one is it allows you to transfer between the 8 different networks on the island, making it much more practical than the National Pass in this area. The Kyushu Rail Pass is a bit harder to evaluate, as you can purchase it for either all of Kyushu, only the north, or only the south, or just for Fukuoka for between 3 to 7 days. The price for the All Kyushu Pass is about 9,000 yen cheaper than the nationwide pass, making it worthwhile provided you are exclusively spending time in Kyushu. But as most travelers will arrive in Japan either in Tokyo or Kansai Airport, it would be better value to pick up a nationwide pass and then take the train to the southernmost part of Japan's 4 largest islands. The north or south passes are much better value, but won't allow you to explore all of Kyushu. These passes are for someone who is taking a very specific trip. There is one more pass I feel I should mention, the JR Seishin Juhachi Kippu, or the Youthful 18 ticket. Now this is a very special ticket for travelers on a budget. It allows you to ride for 5 non-consecutive days on JR trains not including the Shinkansen at a cost of 2,410 yen, or around $18 a day. But it can only be used in spring, summer, and winter. Incredible value can be found in this ticket, as I've used it to travel from the southernmost part of Kyushu to the northern tip of Aomori over 3 days for less than $100. But I already have a video focusing on this ticket, so you can check that out here if that's what you're interested in. Some passes need to be activated before you can use them. For the regional passes, this is going to vary, so check their information if you're picking one up. For the National JR Pass, after you've ordered it, you will receive a voucher that needs to be presented at an activation point before you can use it. Fortunately, this can be done at any JR office and also at Narita and Haneda Airport. And this is where I would recommend you would do so as the first thing after clearing immigration from your flight. From the day you activate your pass is when its period of use is valid. For example, if you arrive on Japan on June 1st at 1 PM and activate it that same day as a 2-week pass, it will be valid between June 1st and June 14th at midnight. The departure time of the train is what matters here though. If you take a train on June 14th before midnight and arrives at 1 AM the next day, then you're still covered by the pass. You are also allowed to choose the date of activation for up to 30 days after you exchange the voucher. So if you are planning, say, a 2-week trip with 1 week in Tokyo and the second week traveling across all of Japan using the expensive bullet trains, it might be better value for you to buy a 1-week pass that will activate 7 days after you exchange your voucher. If you choose this method, please remember that the days can only be used consecutively, and once it is activated, it cannot be changed. In previous years, the JR Pass was a small booklet that needed to be presented to the ticket officers to pass through the gates, but this has been replaced by a ticket that can be used in the automatic ticket machines, which is much faster and more convenient, but cannot be used on the IC card exclusive gates. And also, you should remember to pick up the ticket on the other side of the gate, or you'll have made a very expensive mistake. You can also use any unreserved seats on the Shinkansen with the JR Pass, which is what I tend to do, but since you're paying for it, you can also reserve the more expensive seats to ensure you can sit where you like. You can reserve these online or do so at the Green Window ticket office. You can also purchase a premium JR Pass to use the first class green seats, which are approximately 30% more expensive. These I do not actually recommend because they are only slightly more comfortable than the regular seats and provide no additional benefit, but the option is there. If you reserve a seat, you will receive a ticket to show this, but you do not need to put this seat ticket in the machine, just the JR Pass. For navigation apps, while in Japan there used to be a very helpful one called Hyperdia, which has been changed in such a way that it is now useless. So I mostly use Google Maps to get around. I have been told that Apple Maps is good too, but I've never tried them. However, there is one app that I actually really recommend, which is called Navitime. I mentioned that the Nozomi and Mizuho, which are the fastest Shinkansens, cannot be used on the pass, which is fine, but it does not show up as a filter on many map apps, which makes things a little bit confusing. Navitime, however, allows you to select the rail pass and it will filter accordingly, making it incredibly useful, and it's also free. For travelers with children, anyone aged 12 years or older will pay an adult fare for trains in Japan. Children aged between 6 and 11 may use a child pass for 50% of the adult fare, and young children for up to 5 years old, provided they sit on your lap, travel for free. To use reserve seats though, they will need to pay the child's fare, and one adult may travel with 2 children using their system. For example, 2 parents could bring 4 children under the age of 5 for free, but a 5th child would require buying an additional child's fare. Various passes can also be combined for further discounts if your travel plans are well researched and you activate them correctly. Just make sure you don't activate them all on the same day, as the rules are quite strict when it comes to rail passes. In a previous video of mine, I did mention the new luggage rules for the Shinkansen for oversized bags. The general rule being that if the sum of the height, weight, and length adds up to less than 160 centimeters, you do not need to reserve your bags. Luggage that adds up to between 160 and 250 require prior reservation or a 1,000 yen fine, and luggage that is over 250 centimeters may not be brought at all. There are luggage services for these bags though in Japan. There has also been some new clarification on this rule that it does not apply to sporting equipment, musical instruments, and strollers, but if you wish to store them in the oversized baggage area for these, please do still make a reservation. I know this will make a lot of winter sport travelers to Japan very happy, as this was somewhat in question for skis and snowboards, but don't worry. In fact, certain Shinkansen that service snowy regions have a dedicated compartment for winter equipment. Finally, if you have any further questions or tips for other travelers, please post them in the comments section below. If you're looking for more guides on Japan, then I recommend my 2-week Japan travel itinerary here. And if you found this video useful, then kindly give it a like, and I'll see you in the next one.